Hey everyone, Blabby Daddy here to review Sonic Highways Episode 8 from New York. Real quick to start it off, just want to tell you that my personal experience in New York City was I went there for 2 weeks to train for a restaurant job that I took about 1998. And I was working at a chicken sandwich concept called Ranch One. I don't know if it's even around anymore. It may be. It was pretty good. Sandwiches, burritos, fries. Doesn't matter, but I went to New York City to train for fast food. But I've moved on since then. I've graduated to bigger and better things. But yeah, man, I've got to tell you that no! Episode 8 sucked. It was horrible. And let me tell you what, you know what? You're not going to agree with me. True hardcore Foo Fighters fans and lovers of Sonic Highways, I know you're going to disagree with me, but that's okay. That's why we all have our own opinion. I'm going to tell you right here. It just real simple. It says Dave explores the evolution of the New York music scene. Interviews include Paul Stanley, Jimmy Levine, Nora Guthrie, Thurston Moore, Chuck D, LL Cool J, Mike D, Rick Rubin, and Barack Obama. Why Barack Obama? It was, you know what, they talked to me. That's not even the part that I didn't like. Let's just back up a bit here. They were talking to Kiss, you know, Paul Stanley, and talking about Kiss, and that was interesting. They were talking about, you know, how they affected the scene, and, you know, honestly, at one point I just looked over at Kim and I was like, it seems like all they're doing is name dropping. It was like just band after band after band after band after band. And sure, a lot of things have come out of New York, but like some of these other cities, they kind of fudged on Seattle by saying that Jimi Hendrix was born there. That's not where he got his start. He got his start over in England. Okay, so right here they're talking about people, oh, if you're born there, if you've ever traveled there, they attached your name to the New York scene. And I know New York is just the biggest city in the United States and city that never sleeps and so much goes on there, blah, blah, blah. It's like every other city in this series got 3 or 4 artists, and then they piled like 50 artists into this one to make it like more special or whatever. So this was their big crescendo, New York. And after all of the other places that we've gone on journey on this show and all the other, you know, stories that were told, this was a huge disappointment. I mean, we went to Chicago, Washington, Nashville, Austin, LA, New Orleans, Seattle, and LA's the one I forgot in the last episode to mention, but big deal. They all had a cool story, and you know, a quirky thing about the studio. And sure, they talked about the studio here a little bit with the guy that was all mopey and sad and wanted the government to step in and create save the. Because what's happening in New York is all the mom and pop businesses are being, you know, turned, you know, pushed out, and corporate, you know, they're all being replaced with, you know, corporate entities or whatever. That's happening all over the country. Okay, and so boo-hoo, your economy is not supporting these mom and pop shops. That's happening all over. And then, you know, you could get into this political issue between left and right, conservative, Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, whatever. You know, let's not even go there. This guy instantly wanted the government to step in. And it's like, you know, that's so typical of this artist guy to sit back and want to do what he wants to do and have someone else fight for him. But again, I'm trying to stay away from the political thing. That's not really what motivated me to not like the show. It just had no substance. It was all over the radar. It didn't have a good storyline. The editing wasn't consistent. And it was pretty cool when they talked to some of the guys like Paul Stanley, Chuck D. LL Cool J was great in this. His stories were really cool. Mike D. and Rick Rubin, you know, talking about how he discovered the Beastie Boys and you know, first recorded them, I guess. Or he helped them launch their, you know, their first album and get their big break. So, you know, some of that was interesting, but the biggest downer was talking to Nora Guthrie. And she is Woody Guthrie's daughter, or she's his, you know, related to him in some way. It doesn't really matter, but God, this guy, they took up a good quarter of the episode or more talking to this lady about Woody Guthrie. And this land is your land, this land is our land, that song. I mean, whether he has, I mean, you know, maybe there's a lot of historical weight that goes behind this guy and his music, but he just looked like a real simpleton. And I know the song, I know who he is. He is not someone that I would think of as a musical icon. I mean, maybe no, there was nothing that he did that was of any substance or interest to me. He's got this decently long Wikipedia page, but I'm sorry, this show, it really just crumbled on this episode. Why the hell are you talking about this folk guy when you're in the big glitz and glam in New York? The story just was inconsistent. And I was really disappointed. And it's in New York. And you end it by talking to Barack Obama. It's like all Dave wanted to do was like show that they could get the interview with Barack Obama. You know, it was almost, I mean, because it didn't, that's another thing that was just disjointed. It didn't fit. You know, maybe you could have wedged him in during the Washington, D.C. episode. I mean, come on, this one was supposed to be about New York. I was just disappointed, you know, whenever they played the final song, I Am a River, which was a terrible song. We turned it off. I turned it off, and my wife looked at me and she was just like, and she loves the Foo Fighters, and she has loved every episode. And she just looked at me and was just like, wow, that was disappointing. And I really think that New York, that episode, I'm not even going to give it a rating on 5 stars. I'm not even going to give it a freaking star. It was awful, and it was a waste of my time after seeing all of these other interesting and exciting episodes. You know, granted, I didn't really like Washington, D.C., but I gave it stars because I was like, I just wasn't that interested in the subject matter. Whatever. It wasn't the best. Every other one had a unique, great story and kept me interested. And, you know, I love the Foo Fighters. I've said that multiple times throughout this process. But as a finale, usually you want to be left wanting more, and you want to like have some sort of emotion, like, oh, it's over. Oh, the Foo Fighters, Sonic Highways was so great. I'm gonna miss it. Well, you know, 6 out of the 8 episodes were great, and Washington D.C. was ho hum, but this one was a complete and total failure. Sorry if you don't agree. Sorry if this was all over the place, and if you get stuck talking about politics, too bad for you. I'm not going to respond to that. But like the video if you liked it. Let me know what you thought if you're watching Sonic Highways. Check out the playlist so you can see all 8 reviews, and subscribe to our channel. But thanks for following us for this. This has been an incredible journey. I did another series of videos. My first series was about Pee Wee football, and now about Sonic Highways, so I need to move on and find what my next series of videos are going to be about. And just thanks for sticking with us. We appreciate you viewing and supporting. So until next time, see ya.